Well, you can wait by the railroad track, won't be no trains coming. You can wait, but they won't be back, won't be no trains coming and going. Well, they took apart that band of steel down in the wreckers' yard, and they left me standing here dragging my heels. Times get tough, times get hard. Well, you can wait by the railroad track, won't be no trains coming and going. You can wait, but they won't be back, won't be no trains coming and going. And you won't see the lights in the passenger cars, pictures in the window frames, and you won't hear them shouting out all aboard, last call for the St. John's train.
We acquired a railway speeder car. It was donated to us by the Railway Coastal Museum there a couple of years ago. It originally belonged to a gentleman from Clarendon who worked on the railroad. The car was in Bishop's Falls for a number of years, about 20 years outdoors. So, of course, when the car was given to us, we had planned to restore it right from the very beginning.
Just explain to me what a speeder car is.
The speeder car, it's like a small railway trolley, except that it has an engine. It's mechanical. It can fit in the back of a pickup truck. They were used on the railroad by section men who had to repair the track, to do inspection of the rail line, and they're very common. I guess many people have probably seen them back in the days in the railway. They different sizes. Some had cabs, some did not have cabs.
So this was like a souped-up handcart, we'll say.
Essentially, yeah. Originally, they started off with the old pump cart, where the two guys had to pump up and down with a crank, and I guess that got too tiring after a while. So with the advent of the gasoline engine, they became motorized.
Yeah. Now tell me, before I go to Ted, Stephen, where did the speeder come from?
It belonged to a gentleman named Bill Baggs, retired railroader. He passed away a few years ago. I think he had 2 or 3 in his collection when he retired from the railway. And his widow in Bishop's Falls had them on her property for a number of years. And there were actually 2 involved. The Railway Coastal Museum picked up 2 of them back in 2006, I think, and they kept one for themselves, and they gave the other one to us. So we were quite pleased to get the one that belonged to Mr. Baggs, given that he was from Clarendon originally.
Yeah. Now, Ted, you restored the speeder. How much work was that?
Oh my golly, John, an awful lot, boy.
Well, tell me about it.
Oh gosh. Well, the whole thing was completely seized up. Motor, you name it, and I can tame it. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
It was a derelict. What I should have used it was for a mooring.
Well, tell me, what exactly did you do to it?
Well, John, I took it apart, freed it up. Steve ordered new parts for me, like rings and points. And I just freed it up, put it together, and make the darn thing go.
And what was it like the first time you got it running again?
I tell you, I jumped up and down. I was so pleased.
Yeah. What about you, Stephen?
I was very, very pleased to hear it running again. Yeah, it was to a point we thought that we'd never hear it running, but he got it running for sure. Ted, he spent a lot of time on it, and we're very grateful. But, he got it running, and it sounds really nice.
Well, Stephen, then you were the one who pulled the cord to get it running. That must have been some thrill.
Yeah, I pulled the cord, and it started running immediately. Of course, now there's a proper crank handle that you use that engages the flywheel. So when we get it later on, we'll be having a crank handle there to start it up with.
Yeah. So Ted, what does it look like now? Just describe it for me.
Describe the cart and the speeder itself?
Yes.
Well, I have it completely sandblasted, and it's all made of aluminum except for the running gear, of course. You know, your axles and your wheels. I've left the aluminum in the aluminum state. And I have painted the undercarriage black, and the railings I have painted yellow, and I had a new top made. I have friends of me have been very thoughtful about giving me a hand with this darn thing, because, I'm a hobbyist when it comes to everything, layups and carpentry and stuff like that, but A very good friend of mine came down and helped me build a complete top for the motor itself. And other friends came down and helped me with the wheels, putting the wheels back on, and getting the motor to run itself. It's a good friend of mine also has a speeder motor, and he was more than helpful to come over and give me a hand. And between the two of us and everybody else giving me a hand, I'm going to have it finished, I would say, tomorrow. I have a friend coming down tonight to help me completely rewire the speeder itself. You know, I mean, I'm not going to have the wires exposed. They're going to be all enclosed, so you won't see them, which is going to add to the original existence of the darn thing. See, because when CN had her up here, they put lights on her. She didn't come with lights.
Oh, okay.
She never had lights in the beginning, so they hooked up lights to her. So they put a generator on her and an amp, voltage regulator, and an amp. And I said, no way, because the boys aren't going to use that in the dark. So that's more wires that are going to be ungodly. So I've ignored all those, and my main object right now is to get everything concealed, start the motor, and you see no wires, just you'll see your amp gauge, and you hear the motor banging, and that's it.
Yeah, and Ted, tell me about the unique name on the speeder.
Well, when I went up to look at the speeder, I said to Steve, well, I'll do the motor for you. And then, of course, as you know in the paper, it said, well, I ended up doing the whole darn thing. So the boys sort of said, well, Ted, how much you want for it, to do all this work? Steve figures around 700 hours, but I think it's a little bit more. And I said, I want a bottle of brandy. Metaxas 7-star brandy for doing it. God, he said, that sounds okay. So then I said, well, boy, if that be the case, I'm going to call the speeder the Brandy Speeder. So that makes sense, doesn't it?
He has naming rights on it, so.
Wow, a great story. Stephen, when will the speeder be on display? Where will people see it?
Well, we're working on to get a shed in place, because we want to store the speeder in a smaller shed, obviously, right? Because you just can't leave it out in the exposed on the track down there in front of the station. So I don't know. I mean, we'll probably be looking at we operate a community museum during the summertime, so we'll have it on display during the summer, and there's and also operational too. Hopefully, there's still a section of railway track left in Clarendale, about a half a mile in length, that we're currently looking at getting refurbished.
Yeah.
And our plan will be to run the speeder on that small railway line.
All right. Well, listen, great work, boys, and thanks so much for joining me this morning.
You're more than welcome, John.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
That's Stephen Bonnell, the president of the Clarenville Heritage Society, and Ted Hiscock is a mechanic.
Alright guys, here we are out in Clarenville. This is what I've been waiting for the past 6 weeks to come out and see. Was the old Fairmount speeder. Completely and utterly rebuilt last winter by a couple of gentlemen here in Clarenville. And I got to say, they done an awesome, fantastic job on her. And this thing don't have electric start, which actually got to crank her over here to get her started. And as you can see, she is belt driven. She drives the rear wheel. And belt engaged, she got her brake. And forward, slow, fast, and reverse. Amps, 0 amps right now. What Brandy speeder is it? They call it
Brandy Speeder.
Cool.
That's the name you put on it.
And it took what, all winter to redo her?
here today in Clarenville. Clarenville Heritage Society got a section of railway track, which is going all the way down here, about a quarter of a mile. We hope to extend the length of it further. And the reason why we want to extend the length of the track, the reason why we preserve this piece of railway track, last piece, is that we have a Fairmont speeder that was restored this past winter by Mr. Ted Hiscock in Clarenville. The speeder was donated to the Heritage Society 3 years ago by the family of late Bill Beggs, who worked on the railway in Clarenville. Actually, he had several speeders. This was one of his. We done a restoration on it. It was a project we've always wanted to do to get the speeder up and running. The speeder probably was made back in 1958. That's a stationary style engine, single cylinder, and you start it with a hand crank. And of course now the color scheme, since Ted restored the speeder, I mean, you look at a color scheme of yellow and green, which kind of matches the original Newfoundland Railway. I know we didn't follow the CN scheme, but you know, there's always another speeder to restore someday. This speeder was originally an inspection one that the sectionman used on the railway. It probably carried 1 or 2 people at most, no more than 2, mainly one. Section foreman or roadmaster would operate this one. And so we've been running our speeder here today, and maybe we can take a closer look at it on the inside. So right now we're going to lift off the engine compartment, the cover. We'll have a look at the inside and give an explanation of how this works. Now, first thing you see here is the fuel tank. The gas is mixed. There's usually a 16:1 ratio. And other than that, they're fairly straightforward. What you'll notice about these cars, there's no transmission. They're not shaft driven or chain driven. They're actually belt driven. And if you notice, we have the belt here. The belt connects to the flywheel on the motor and runs to the pulley on the back of the axle. So it's a belt driven car. And so when the motor is up and running, when you want to engage the belt to get her moving, of course you slide this lever ahead into your first position. And if you're going up a grade or you need a bit more speed, you can put it up into the last position. So this, basically what this does, increases the tension on the belt and gives the pull on the axle. Right here is our brake, very important of course. Right now the brake is engaged and the brake is on. So when we want to release the car, we let go of the brake, as you see she'll start to roll. Brake is very important. Here's our accelerator, slow and fast. And of course this lever here is for reverse and forward. Right now we ran the car back in reverse earlier. So when we're going to start the car up, we put the lever in forward. This controls your timing. So as far as I know, how these motors work is that when you want to go in forward and reverse, there's no transmission that operates in reverse gear. Essentially, is that when you want to go in reverse, is that you advance the timing, or you retard the timing.
No, you reverse the timing.
You reverse the timing. That's right.
Reverse the timing.
Reverse the timing.
As you get into it, as you see, we got to shut her down because where there is no transmission, throw her back into reverse, and we have to actually start the wheel the opposite direction of which way you want to go. Put her back and forward. You got to shut her down again. And you got to crank her again the way you want her to go, right? So you'll be going clockwise, reverse, counterclockwise.
And maybe you can just put the hand crank in there. It's just out to the other one there.
Yeah.
So,
no, go ahead.
yeah. So, So when you're going to start the motor in forward, you crank the flywheel clockwise, and when you're going to start in reverse, you crank it's counterclockwise. Other than that, now there's a way you can also start the engine in reverse too while it's running, but we haven't quite mastered that yet. So, but a couple of the railroaders we know have quite experience doing that. So, anyway, other than that, that's about it. As you was in the front, this, I don't know if Charlie wants to talk about it or...
Yeah. Well, this is the condenser. This is what tries to keep the engine cool. This out in front, there's only a single cylinder here. As this wraps around the motor, all your antifreeze mixture is in here. And this is your little condenser. Now, there is no fan on this one, so sometimes she'll overheat. And depending on the temperature and that, the cooler it is, the more you can run her. Hotter she is, she'll start to really warm up and she'll start blowing out steam out of our release valve there. Other than that, like I say, it's a single cylinder. She's just very simple at the time, like back in the 50s. We got one carburetor, and that's it. Anything else you want to add?
Well, it has a battery. The battery it's a 6-volt system. So we have a generator. Get a close up here. Here's our generator that keeps our battery charged. And here's the coil. There's a coil on there for the spark plug. It's pretty much like an automotive kind of coil. So the battery is a 6-volt battery. It provides the current to the coil, of course, and which provides the high voltage to the spark plug. And of course, the generator keeps the battery charged at all times.
But also too, back then they also had a front headlight on her. So usually mounted right here.
Yep.
And that would run off the battery. So that's why the battery's there, but we don't have the headlight there at the present time. There was also a canopy over, which we haven't done yet. It's still in Steve's backyard. But it has the front on it. The front now, it was orange with CN written on it, because that's the time, I guess, when they changed over. But this one was here before then, so it was been repainted a couple times. So other than that, I guess that's the basics of it all.
Yeah.
Cool. And when was this one built, roughly, or do you know?
We would assume the thing with Fairmont never really dated their engines. Like, there's no manufacturer date on the serial numbers here or on the motor at all. And I think Fairmont, they were known for that, not really dating their engines. Like, they could have this has an ODB motor, and I mean it was probably made from, could be late 40s up to the early 60s probably, as an example. But the only way you know is that if you got the original bill of sale, and I think that's what most motor car owners have. We kind of have an estimate that it's somewhere around the mid to late 50s anyway. And like we have, apparently there is a number on here, a car number 23001. So there were over 23,000 of these cars.
That's across Canada, though.
And across Canada, probably,
yes,
yeah.
yes.
Or maybe even the U.S. standard and narrow gauge. So.
But as you can tell, this is an earlier one because, like you say, the newer ones had the actual small Ford motors in them with transmission, so you wouldn't have to stop it. It's just like a car.
Yeah.
Right?
Automatic, more or less.
Automatic and everything, yes. You had, like you say, and this one was earlier, but I'd say they stopped using these in the 60s,
I
70s.
would say, yeah, probably.
I say late 60s they stopped using these and replaced them with the automatic transmission ones.
Because Fairmont were then, because one time Fairmont used to make their own motors, but they got away from that eventually, and they started buying motors, say, from Ford or Briggs and Stratton or the different manufacturers, and like the Roadmasters had different sizes of model. Like this is an M15 and it was an M19. Larger cars had like 4-cylinder, and I think there were even some had a 6-cylinder Ford motor in some of the larger inspection cars as well. So this one is quite this one is fairly old. But looking back over of all the books and publications about Newfoundland Railway in recent years, there's not really much out there on the sectionmen and their speeders. There's very little actually. Like a lot of the, I think it'll make an interesting book if someone would do an historical, do some research on all the speeder cars we had operating in Newfoundland at one point, because there seems to be very little information out there that's published. Most of the stuff is about the locomotives, the rolling stock, the railway stations, but there's very little bit of speeders. Actually, I think it might be something worth looking into, because I think a lot of people would. This is probably, I don't know, if there's probably a couple more cars like this in Newfoundland now. Over on the west coast, there's a gentleman who runs a speeder on his property. Other than that, I think this is on the east coast of Newfoundland. This is probably the only one that's remaining. And so it belongs to the Clarenville Heritage Society. And we usually get it out for special events such as Clarenville Day. And hopefully, when we get our track extended further, we'll be able to get our speeder shed located and be able to give people some rides. So I think that's about it, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's a great way to spend a Saturday, you know, riding on the rails. Not too many people can probably do that in Newfoundland, you know. And something it's
Especially on an original existing track at
on
that.
original existing track too. It is a great feeling, I have to say.
Yeah.
It's really nice.
because this track was used to be owned by the Newfoundland Hardwoods Corporation so far, and then it would turn off to CN. But this used to be a running lane for them when they brought up their poles. So they used to bring up probably about 5 or 6 loads of poles
Yeah.
at a time,
Yeah.
and they'd place it on this track, and then CN would come and take them from here over to the main lines.
Yeah.
That's why you see those turnouts down there. You see like there's one going down to the Newfoundland Hardwoods. Then you see another one down there that turns up towards this way.
Yeah.
Now, there was also more up here, but depending on the size of the load and that, and how fast they needed to get them out, this depends which way they brought them up. Most of the summer we've been trying to clear it out. It's been a big job. We had like birch trees with diameters of 6 to 8 inches growing right up in the middle of the track actually. And like I say, right now it's work in progress, and hopefully next year we can get it a little bit longer and a little bit more clear.
So what do you guys need here to actually get this built?
Well, you know, we need volunteers. We need people to help us out. That's the biggest thing. And of course, we also need some money too, you know, right? We're a not-for-profit organization. I mean, this stuff costs money, buying the bolts. Now, we have a lot of ties and spikes, but there's money involved in getting up the old rail from the other location, you know, heavy equipment, you know, support from the town. I mean, the town's very good towards us, you know, they're with the operation of the Heritage Society, but we need help, and you know, probably.
No, we need more help from that.
We need.
Well,
We need more help from the town.
we need more help from the
We
town.
need more help, essentially. For this project, we do. We need a lot more help. And I mean, and even if I had a private contractor who wanted to help us out with this too, I mean, it'd be great. You know, I mean, this is the last piece of that railway track that's left in Clarenville, and I mean. Clarenville was right off the Trans-Canada. We're in a prime location here. I mean, this railway line got a great view of Random Sound, good view of the water. I mean, it's very scenic here. It's very nice. And
Yeah, we're only about 5 minutes off Trans-Canada.
we're only 5 minutes off the Trans-Canada,
And,
you know. And I mean, there are other places over the years that had like the former Trinity Loop, you know, that place has shut down. So there are no other running railway. Tourist kind of a railway thing left in Newfoundland now. So we hope to, you know, there are a lot of people. We had back in Clarenville Day, we had the speeder running here, we had other locomotive running. We had over 300 people showed up that afternoon to take part in it and tour the museum, look at the railway artifacts, come down, ride on the speeder train, and it was a great success. People from all ages, kids from age 4 and adults up to age 84. So it's this stuff appeals to a lot of people, and you know, when you get the support to do it, you know, it's you've got a winning formula. It's like I said, it's a great feeling. click the key.
And that is it. The sounds of the speeder going down the track in Clareville, Newfoundland.